The stands are packed. Rows of photographers line the pitch, and a 17-year-old rookie steps onto the heated grass. Edson Arantes do Nascimento, better known as Pele. The commentator speaks dismissively of the Brazilian style of play, seeing no threat in the slight teenager. The camera catches the boy's frightened gaze before kickoff, and the story rewinds 8 years. The Brazilian town of Bauru. Poverty and decay fill its streets. Children work alongside adults for next to nothing, but in their free time they pursue simple joys, friendship, and football. A group of boys, tired of shining shoes at the market, abandon their work and steal laundry from clotheslines to fashion a homemade ball. The rag-stuffed bundle is heavy and awkward, yet the boys handle it with astonishing ease. The fun ends with a dip in a muddy puddle. At home, a boy named Dico is greeted by a strict mother who is firmly set against anything to do with football.
But Ma, what about the World Cup? Don't even think about it.
But late that evening, the boys creep to the local bar and listen through a hole in the roof. Every man in the neighborhood has gathered there, among them Dico's father. For most of them, football has long been something like a religion.
What happened, Chico? What happened? Did we score?
Goal against Brazil, 2-1.
Unfortunately, Brazil loses. The mood in the bar collapses. Dico's father walks out into the street with tears in his eyes. The boy runs to him and, without thinking, makes a vow.
I'll win a World Cup for Brazil I promise.
The next day, his mother takes Dico with her to work, cleaning a sprawling mansion belonging to a wealthy family. As they scrub the floors to a shine, she tells him that his father was once a professional footballer. In one match, he scored 5 headers, but then he injured his knee and the club cast him out without insurance or contract, forcing him to become a cleaner. While she is speaking, the owner's son appears in the kitchen with a group of friends. They discuss an upcoming local tournament and mention that the famous football scout Valdemar de Brito will be there, looking for talent for the Santos club. The rich boys excitedly reel off the names of star players they plan to imitate. Dico tries to join the conversation and names a local footballer,
And I'll be like Pele.
but mispronounces it as Pele. The whole group bursts out laughing, and the rich kids begin to mock him with the nickname.
Hey, Pele, stop this shot.
That silent apology cuts into Dico's memory more sharply than any insult. As they leave, he picks up a scrap of newspaper the guests left behind, an announcement about the tournament. He rounds up his street gang and signs them up. At first, the boys struggle to adjust to a real football. It feels weightless compared to their heavy homemade one.
Let's go so far! It's full of hair!
One of the boys stitched a strip from his mother's bed sheets, so they would at least look like a proper team. Despite their lack of proper equipment, the boys display remarkable skill and gradually work their way up the tournament bracket, leaving all competitors behind. They reach the final, where they must face Jose's team. The rich boys are considerably older and kitted out with professional gear. Unwilling to suffer the humiliation, the kids decide to get boots at any cost. They steal bags of peanuts from market traders. They sell the peanuts at the market. The rich boys show up again and start insulting the whole team, finding a way to needle each member. The hero loses his temper and punches the wealthy boy in the face. A proper brawl breaks out, which Dico's father watches from a distance. At home, his mother tries to find out where the bruises came from. Dico lies that his teacher beat him. His mother furiously prepares to go to the school, but his father, understanding the whole situation, promises to sort it out himself. The following morning, he walks his son to the tournament, and along the way tells him,
You can't be ashamed of who you are.
The final draws the whole neighborhood, and Valdemar de Brito himself. The second-hand boots they manage to scrape together hobble the street team's movements. The rich boys exploit their advantage to the full and score 6 goals in the first half. Jose does not shy away from dirty play, deliberately cutting opponents down. An enraged Dico nearly charges at his tormentors, but catches sight of his father among the spectators. In that moment, he remembers what his father said. He pulls off the tight boots. Receiving a pass, he closes his eyes and recreates the games of the favelas in his memory. That homemade ball, those narrow alleyways, that way of moving that no one taught him, he simply knew. And he begins to move with the same mesmerizing, fluid grace. Dribbling past defenders with artistry, he scores. One by one, his teammates also kick off their boots, and the rich boys are suddenly powerless against the street kids. The stands begin to chant, Pele! Despite ultimately losing 6-5, the crowd is completely enchanted. After the match, Valdemar de Brito hands Dico's father his business card, but there is no time to find out what that means. On the horizon appear the traders whose peanuts they stole. The boys take off running in the pouring rain. The chase leads them into the forest. They hide in a hollow. The rain intensifies. A landslide begins. Pele manages to scramble out, but his friend is buried alive. The traders arrive and help dig, but it is too late. Shattered with grief, Pele returns home and weeps before his mother, blaming himself for his friend's death. He tells her everything, the tournament, the fight, the theft, and swears he will never play football again.
I think it's time he will work with you in the clinic after school.
Let him see what life holds without an education. The next day, his father takes Deco to the hospital, where they clean toilets and carry bedpans. Wanting to pull him out of his grief, his father explains how as a child, he used to train with mango fruits. He suggests giving it a try. Deco refuses. He gave his word to his mother. He walks past his friends who are playing as if nothing happened, and even throws away the newspaper clipping about their performance. His mother notices that the fire has gone out in her son's eyes, but says nothing. Sometime later, his father deliberately tries to toss a mango into a bin, and misses again and again, as if by accident. Deco can't stand it, gets up and shows him how it's done. His father smiles. They practice together every day, his father teaching him every nuance of this peculiar technique. One day his mother happens upon him training. After a sleepless night of reflection, she retrieves the card from the drawer and calls Valdemar. She brings the scout to observe her son from a distance. When the young man returns home with his father and finds De Brito in the living room,
how would you like to try out for the Santos Football Club?
He stops dead in the doorway. The man offers him a chance to try out for the professional football club Santos. In Santos, he begins training alongside other prospects. The coach demands he forget his street style and master European technique.
Ball on the ground, boys!
After the trials, lists go up. Deco's name is absent from the youth team, but it appears in the junior squad. His journey begins. Every day after training, the coach shows footage of the 1950 defeat.
See what happens when we play with that primitive style? We lose.
Deco tries to strike with the instep the European way, but nothing comes naturally. During one match, he is trusted to take a penalty, and he misses. His teammates are unhappy. That night, the young man packs his bag and heads to the station. There, Valdemar catches up with him. The old man tells how in the early 15th century, the Portuguese brought African slaves to Brazil. Many fled into the jungle for safety and created the martial art of capoeira, from which there gradually emerged that particular dancing style, Ginga. After the defeat in 1950, the coaches declared Ginga the main culprit and abandoned it. But Valdemar is convinced the style was not to blame. Ginga is part of Deco, his way of telling the world who he really is. Or he can get on the train and never find out. The train arrives, Deco stays. At the next training session, despairing of playing in someone else's style, he remembers his father in the mangoes and switches back to his natural manner. The coach shouts, demanding he stop, but Deco ignores him, lifts the ball into the air and delivers a bicycle kick, exactly as he had practiced on the fruit. The coach calls him over and, instead of a reprimand, tells him to do it again. Deco continues to shine, scoring in every match, and is soon promoted from the junior squad to the professional team. The newspapers write about him as the youngest player in the club. One day a parcel arrives for his parents, a gas stove and gifts for everyone.
You do realize there is no gas in Bauru, right?
Don't break their hearts. We can just use it as a table.
The family listens anxiously to the announcement of Brazil's squad for the 1958 World Cup. Deco is convinced that given his age, there is no chance of a place in the national team.
I'm 16, there's no way I'm making the selection.
But his name is called last.
But man, that's incredible. You're playing with Zito in the pro team.
It's not the same as with you guys.
Before he leaves, his father gives him an old shirt with Pele written on it. That's what the rich kids used to call me to tease me, says the son. No, his father answers. That's what the fans named you for your Ginga. That day I understood you have something I never had. He tells how in one match he scored 5 headers, but at the decisive moment, doubt crept in, and it led to injury. At the camp, Pele meets the team. Jose, the same wealthy bully from childhood, is here again. He emphasizes his European roots and insists that the modern style will carry the squad to victory. Journalists seize the moment and put sharp questions to the Ginga-style players, reminding them that it was precisely this style that caused the last World Cup defeat.
I don't see what's so bad about Ginga.
The national coach snatches the microphone and announces the team will no longer play Ginga. In the trial match, Pele tries to play the European way and fails repeatedly. Eventually he snaps, reverts to his natural manner, and injures his knee in an awkward collision. That night he calls his mother. He tells her he was wrong to leave school. He asks for forgiveness. His mother replies, it was their decision together, and it was the right one. The doctor warns that he may not play properly until the next season. There is no time to find a replacement, and Pele travels to Sweden as a substitute. At the press conference, the Swedish coach ridicules the Brazilians, cataloging the physical shortcomings of each player. Meanwhile, the Brazilians win their opening matches. Pele gradually recovers. At last, the coach decides to send him out for the semi-final against France. Before he goes on, Pele is sick with nerves. The first half goes badly. Brazil trails 0-1. In the dressing room at halftime, the exhausted players sit in silence. Pele approaches Jose and admits he cannot play the way Jose does. He asks him to go on in his place for the second half. Jose shakes his head. He says that when they arrived in Sweden, he wanted to be seen as European. But here he realized he is Brazilian and always will be. And Pele, back then as a boy at that tournament, showed everyone how beautiful Jenga could be. That is what their team needs right now. After the break, Pele returns to the pitch. At first, he plays cautiously, following the coach's instructions. But then, intercepting a ball in midfield, he decides to forget the rules. He dribbles between players with ease and grace. He lays the ball off, receives it back, flicks it over two defenders, and jumping, drives it into the net. Goal. His father leaps from his seat in the bar. After the scores level, Pele scores twice more, completing a hat trick in 20 minutes. Brazil reaches the final. Commentators who had been laughing at the slight teenager now speak of him as the new star of world football. That night, Pele calls his father and confesses that he is afraid. The Swedes will hunt him down and might injure him. His father replies he already believed in himself against France. Now he must help the rest of the team believe in themselves. The next day, to lift the team's spirits, Pele begins juggling a ball in the dining room. No one responds. So he proposes a challenge: keep the ball in the air all the way to the lighthouse without letting it touch the ground. Jose's the first to join in, then others follow. They carry the ball through the entire hotel, dropping it once on a cake and once on the tea of a passing guest who turns out to be the real Pele himself. Out in the rain, the young man finally falls into a puddle, just short of the lighthouse. The coach gathers the team in the changing room and admits his mistake. He should never have tried to teach them European football. Watching them juggle the ball all over the hotel, he understood. Jenga is their style, the very thing that makes Brazilian football unique and spectacular. He asked them to play the final their own way. June 29th, the 1958 World Cup final. Journalists give Brazil no chance. Even Pele's mother, a lifelong opponent of football, cannot hold out and switches on the radio her son gave her. Just 4 minutes in, the Swedes score while Pele lies on the turf after a blatant foul the referee ignores. Then Brazil seized the initiative. Pele notices the heartbroken Brazilian supporters in the stands. Their pain gives him strength. One by one, Brazil score again. The stands roar. The final whistle blows. 5-2. Brazil becomes world champion for the first time in history. Pele loses consciousness from the flood of emotion. His teammates hoist him onto their shoulders. The entire country celebrates. Off-screen, the voice of Pele himself is heard. It had been only 18 months since he first left his parents' home, but it felt as though years had passed. He will never forget 1958. That was the year he became Pele. He became the only three-time world champion and holds the world record for career goals. The only record that was never his to claim: 5 headers in a single match. That record belongs to his father.